Howdy everyone, a new patch for Blood Bowl 3 dropped 2 days ago. Essentially, they shut the servers down on Tuesday morning, and when they came back online in the afternoon, we had a new patch. Now that patch included some of the things we were hoping for, but it's also missing some of the things we were hoping for. With that said, let's go through the patch notes and have a look on what has been added to the game. Now, I've been playing on this patch for about 7 hours yesterday, so I should have some footage of some of the stuff in the patch notes. Well, next to me, let's see, over here. Cool. Or, full screen. Anyways, the patch note is divided into 3 different parts. There are added features, client fixes, and server fixes. I'm not going to go through all of the server and client fixes, but I am going to go through all of the added features. First of all, replay has been added to the game. That means you can now download replays and watch them after the fact if you want to. Spectator mode had been in before. There are still UI stuff that needs to be fixed. I haven't experimented with it, but a first version of the replay feature is in, meaning in the future you can send me replays, I can watch them and then mercilessly mock you for doing much better plays than I ever would. Secondly, the post-game sequence has been changed. Expensive mistakes have been added. If you have too many SPP on a player, you're now forced to give that player a level or a characteristic increase before you can spin the team again. And lastly, you can now recruit journeymen. During my 7 hours of play, I did not recruit any journeymen because I was never in a position where I played with journeymen, so I don't have much to offer on that. I will say on the expensive mistakes part, it's pretty obvious when you have expensive mistakes because a big angry rectangle will pop up on your team. You can also see it at the top of your team roster. However, the game currently doesn't explain how the system works, only that you have to roll for expensive mistakes. And expensive mistakes, as a rule, means that the more money you keep in your treasury, the likelier it is that you will lose money. You have to keep a lot of money in your treasury for that to be a likelihood. But hopefully, Cyanide will add something that will explain how this feature works, because currently it just says, hey, expensive mistakes. You press a button and then the game goes, are you sure you want to do this now? You can spend some money beforehand. And it should probably actually tell you what the different results on this die roll is, because if you don't know that it's a die roll, it's very hard to understand. The shop has been updated with new daily features. Once again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you go, for example, for the factions to look at Lizardmen, there are features within the Lizardman pack in the shop that are not listed in the main shop. And this seems to be the same case with the daily deals currently. If something is a daily deal, it might not be available in the normal shop, meaning if you want a pair of glowing chaos shows and blocker horns, you need to get it while they're in the shop while they're in the daily deal currently. However, as with all of the packages in Blood Bowl 3, even though it's listed as a full package deal, if you go into the package and expect what's in the deal, you can actually buy the pieces one by one if you want to. Of course, you won't get the discount, but if you're only interested in the glowing horns, for example, that's probably cheaper to buy on its own than the full kit. You also get free warpstone every week on the daily deal page. The first week it was 10 warpstone, which isn't much, but it also isn't nothing. Of course, I think everyone who saw it was like, why is it only 10? Lastly, and I think this is kind of a big one for just readability of the game, you can now activate a feature in-game that gives each position on your team and the opponent's team a distinct colored circle. You can't pick the colors of the circles yourself, but if you hover over the button at the bottom, it will actually tell you what each of those circles mean. I've been playing a lot of Elven Union lately, and I build my blitzers and my catchers very similarly, and they also get a lot of skills, meaning I've been playing with all of the skills on, because otherwise I will forget who the blitzer and the catcher is. Now with these colored circles, it's a lot easier to see, and I don't have to play with all skills on, which I think is a nice improvement. Of course, a system where you get to pick the colors yourself might be even more amazing, but as a start, I like it. Now, the client fixes, I'm just going to scroll through and see if there's anything here I want to point out. Yes, one of them being that the Plague Doctor is now available for KO recovery. I haven't been playing with the Plague Doctor, so I don't know how that works. I did, however, identify an issue that I've reported to the devs, which is that if you're using the Apo for the KO, the result to not use the Apo is the opposite of what you'd pick for a casualty roll, meaning it's easy to get confused and accidentally use the Apo when you don't need to. They have added the second Apo roll to the log now. Previously, when you used the Apo on a casualty, you would only get the least bad. Well, if they were the same result, you would still only get one result, but you wouldn't see what the actual result was in the log. To me, this is an important update because it's nice to know what you actually rolled, especially if you have a team with a lot of niggle injuries. So you know if it's the if it's the niggles that did you in or just the roll itself. Now, of course, the result's still going to be the same. It's just nice to see that it's there. What else has been fixed? One of the things that have been fixed is they've changed the name of some things. So ambient sound replaces public and sound options. So more sounds are modifiable with this option. That means when I launch the game, my crowd audio is what they're talking about. The people shouting in the by the side of the pitch was really loud, so I had to lower it. But it's nice that it's there. It also carries on a tradition of the Blood Bowl games having two loud crowds, which I feel like is fun and funky. In server fixes, there are some things. Is that if you do buy a wizard, the way it works now is different. Previously, it was kind of tricky to know when to use the wizard, especially like the fireball, because you can use it at the start and at the end of a turn. What happens currently if you have a wizard is that at the start and at the end of a turn, the wizard UI pops up with the fireball, and you have to dismiss it if you don't want to use it, which the first time it happened to me, of course scary, doesn't necessarily tell you how to dismiss it. For me, it was just to right click because that's how I have the controls set up. Once you figure that out, hey, now it's way easier to use the fireball than before. The sap spell you still kind of have to use at the start of your turn, and it's not trickier to figure out, but you actually have to go into the wizard option at the start of your turn, change it to sap, and then click sap and hope for the best. The other big one that we need to talk about is that in the official Season 2 ladder, Cyanide has made a change to random skills. Random skills, the way they work is that they cost less SPP, but you only get to pick the group that you want to skill from, and then it randomizes the available skills to you. The positive side of this is that these skills when it comes to TV and how much the piece is worth, rather than being like 20k for a normal skill, it's just 10k. Meaning if you were patient enough and had enough money, you could build a team where players had just picked random skills. You kicked the ones that didn't get the skills you wanted, and that team would then be it would have a lower TV than a normal team with the same skills, meaning there might be some unfair advantage to some teams in the ladder. That's been the reasoning for changing it, as I understand it. There are people that agree with this change. There are people that disagree with this change. The people that disagree have been very vocal. My perspective on the whole thing is, let's test it and see what happens, because there's nothing that's stopping Cyanide from rolling this change back if they need to. As with everything they've done so far, the game is still being updated. Stuff is being added, and this is, as far as I understand it, only for the official Season 2 ladder that is run by Cyanide. The private leagues are not affected by this change. That's I think that's all of the things I wanted to talk about. You can read the patch notes themselves. I have a link down in the description. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you later. Let me know what you think about the patch in the comments. But, you know, keep it civil and all of that.